Have you ever had one of those clients, those clients, the ones that make you kind of want to pull your hair out? Because same. And if you said no to that answer, well, I think you're probably fooling yourself, and we need to have a conversation because this is something that could send you spinning, something that could make your passion, the reason you started your business, feel more like a project and a reason to burn it all down. So what are we going to do about it? Well, that's why we have Ashlyn here today. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself, why this topic matters to her, and why it should matter to you. Ashlyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Shauna. And yes, hi, I'm Ashlyn Glazier Anderson. I'm the founder and CEO of Ashbeam PDX Marketing. We're a digital marketing agency that works with small business owners and nonprofit organizations, helping them set up their marketing and communication strategy and execute on their plans. And I'm really excited to be talking about this topic today because you cannot serve everyone. That's like a really, really important thing that you have to realize in business is that if you are for everyone, you're effectively for no one. And one of the things that I have learned over time in my business is cut and run if it doesn't feel right. You're just going to basically have headaches constantly and not going to feel good about what you're doing if you are continuing to try to serve audiences that are just not meant for you, not aligned with you, and not really filling your cup and filling you with joy. Because if we were going to work that way, why would we be in business for ourselves? We'd probably go back to working for other folks like we used to before we started our businesses.
I love that so much. And like, I feel like for a lot of people, I've got two things that I'd like to present to you here. The first thing is for anybody hearing cut and run if it doesn't feel right. If that's like, oh yes, write that down, keep it in your pocket or on your wall or somewhere that you can see as a reminder that it's okay to do that. Not that you need that permission, it is okay. The second thing that's coming up for me, and it's going to be me playing a bit of devil's advocate, because I'm here on board with you, but I hear my clients and I hear many people in this space, especially as female service-based entrepreneurs who are maybe in the first 1 to 3 to even 5 years plus of business, who are still working in that growth phase.
Mhm.
But I need clients. Like I need the money to put the food on the table, to pay the bills, to do the things. And so, I mean, I have my opinions on that, but I'd like to hear it from you for those people who are giving you a little bit of pushback on the cut and run theory. How do you approach that as a leader?
Sure. I would say that there's a lot of different ways to make money. And typically, when you are feeling really like, I guess, let's imagine a situation when something feels really, really icky and you're doing it anyway, it's going to drain you. And I think having that scarcity mindset of, I need to take this because I need it, doesn't leave you space for the other things, doesn't leave you space to be expansive and to think about it. And, there are a lot of different ways to put together the pieces of the puzzle. So I guess I'll use my own business as an example. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching through other nonprofit organizations. So I get paired with business owners. I get paid by the nonprofit itself to work with these business owners. That's like one chunk of the pie. Actually, I have two different kind of nonprofit clients. I guess one is technically city government and the other one's a nonprofit. But that's where I get coaching clients from. Then I have my retainer clients who I have been working with for a long period of time. Then I have project-based clients. So you can kind of compartmentalize the pieces. And then I sometimes teach workshops and do different things. So I think folks need to think more expansively about where the revenue can come from. Or I just gave advice to a client recently. She's feeling the pressure because the farmers markets and things are kind of winding down in her area. And that's primarily where she makes a lot of her money. And she's like, oh gosh, I have to go back and get a job job. And I was like, it's okay to take something part-time. It's okay to do that because you need to live. But I said, don't ever forget your dream. And if you are starting to lose that dream, I want you to call me. I want you to text me. I want you to message me, because we might face bumps in the road, but that's all they are. They're just bumps in the road on getting to the long-term goal. And if you don't have kind of that mindset of abundance and the mindset of like optimism that things, the ship will right itself, the things will be better. That's going to make it much harder to be in business for the long term. And yeah, take a, a clerical hourly job to fill it, but something that continues to let your brain hold space for what you truly want to do.
Absolutely. I think the main, if we were to refine that into the nuggets to reflect upon, it would be build the community around you that allows you to remember your purpose, reconnect with them, and remember this. I just love this. Think expansively.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is really key. This is the part that I really want to launch off of here, because we get into this space where we're really in a fixed mindset. We start thinking about things in one way. We see this in a lot of psychological practices where they do these tests on object permanence and fixed purposes, object purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got, you give somebody a hammer and they think they can only hammer a nail with it. But somebody that has more of a growth mindset, somebody who has more of an expansive thought pattern, they might be able to use that hammer in a more MacGyver-y type of way that allows them to solve problems faster, that allows them to come to the solution. And so I think that concept of thinking expansively is something that we can really hunker in on when we're talking about what does it look like to be able to select your clients, those people who really light your soul on fire, because it's through that expansive thinking that you will be able to create the opportunities that allow you to make money, that allow you to grow your business, that allow you to explore further the passions that have driven you thus far. So from there, I want to ask you about those cut and tie situations. Like, how do you set those boundaries? How do you create the qualifications for someone to be able to work with you that are over and above the typical demographics or whatever?
Yeah. What that we go into this growth strategy call, 5-minute call. I've been told by sales folks like,
Ashlyn, I'm going to
oh,
interrupt you just for a moment because you froze and I
sure.
want to hear everything that you said.
Okay.
Go
Yes.
ahead.
For setting up boundaries, the first thing that I do is I have a form.
A form is definitely one of the things.
5-minute growth with folks, and those specific things. Well, one, the form is a barrier, because if you cannot take the time to answer the questions, then you disqualify yourself automatically. Like,
That's
I've
wonderful.
had people email me before and be like, do I really have then yeah, work relationship with one another. And then the second piece of that is, if I look at their information and what they're doing and it's not going to be a good fit, or we're not going to be able to support their goals, what I try to do is have that conversation, poke holes in what they're saying potentially, which can be a little bit abrasive to some folks in that initial meeting. But I also can help them get referred out to somebody else who might be a better fit. So I do love to network with other service providers, even network with other people who do, the same or similar things to me, because if I can find somebody a better fit out there, I'm happy to make the referral, just so that that they're not feeling like I am stifling what they want to do, and that I'm not, being like, oh my God, why am I doing this,
Yes.
with this person. And, I think It's very real, right? That situation of, I just need to take this, I just need to take the client. I mean, I won't say that I have done this consistently over time. There's been times where I've signed people up where I'm just like, okay, yeah, it's not quite the right fit, but we're going to try it anyway because I think I can help them. And then, I definitely lean into, I have 30-day exit clauses in my contracts. I will wind down a contract if needed. I'll be really clear with them. And one thing that I do, regardless of whether or not it's a good fit or not, is make sure that we are doing offboarding, giving them back the keys to their castle, kicking
Right.
myself out of their systems, um, telling that I'm no longer monitoring your Asana space. This is the date that I'm out of here. Here are all your files that I created for you. I'm keeping copies, but this is yours now.
Mhm.
And then I do have a very large Google Drive, and I'm like, this is your folder. We're not going to delete it. However, if that time ever comes, you'll be sent a notification and be given basically 30 days to get your stuff out of storage, essentially.
That's
But being really clear with people, on that. And I still, I do a lot of Loom videos and things like that. And I still see, months after I worked with a client, because Loom sends you the little so and so looked at your thing. I'm like, oh, that's great. People are actually using, the tools and the materials that we created. And that just kind of makes me feel good inside that, we created this with the purpose to leave people better off than when they started.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important perspective. So you've got a few things going on here, is just that idea that we're creating barriers to entry through the form, through the calls, and the time in between. So
Mm-hmm.
the form itself is a barrier. They fill out the form, you read the form. You don't need to go on the call.
Mm-hmm.
You can go on the call, but then when you get on the call, you're like, okay, hold on, this isn't maybe quite working. We're not jiving, the vibe's off, that sort of idea. These are at least 3 barriers to entry,
Mm-hmm.
that are constructive barriers to entry. We often talk in marketing about barriers to entry being a negative thing. We often talk
Mm-hmm.
about them being something that will prevent somebody from laying their money down. But in certain circumstances, when you're talking about people self-qualifying or self-disqualifying, in this regard, it is an advantage to have strategic barriers to entry. Um,
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I want to kind of look at in a bigger scope, based on what you said, were the systems and processes that you've created around those barriers that have allowed you to uh, foster a space, a community that doesn't make you sacrifice your personal values or even your
Mm-hmm.
dignity in the process, which is a really important part of what you're doing. So some of the systems and processes that you outlined were things like when this, then that. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got when they fill out the form, then I'm going to review it and decide. When I've
Mm-hmm.
decided, yes, it's a go, then they'll hop on the call. When I've decided, no, this is not a go, then I have a script that I will send to them that outlines some next steps based on the information they've given me. So I'm giving them value and possible referrals, which then also gives them value and adds credos to who I am, how I'm connected. And this is really important. It leaves them with a good taste in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
No, they weren't able to hop on a call with you because they weren't a good fit. You've outlined why they're not a good fit. You've given them resources to succeed and other people to talk to who would be better fits. Amazing. It doesn't have to be poo poo all the time. Now you've just let them go and you can move on. And this allows you to have an energy that attracts the people who are the right fit. And that person
Mm-hmm.
goes off and says, hey, Sally, you know what? I wasn't a good fit for her, but I think you might be. Now you have a referral. And they are
Mm-hmm.
a better fit because that person just left with a better understanding of who is the best person for you.
Mm-hmm.
So just all of the things that you've said here add up to how being selective with your clientele allows you to, number one, attract more aligned clients. And number two, it allows you to live a life that feels good, that
Mm-hmm.
feels really good. The last thing I wanted to talk about was how you mentioned exit clauses and offboarding. So uh-oh, I hired this person and they weren't as cool as I thought they were. Because that happens. It totally happens. You think, yeah, absolutely, I'm kung ho. This sounds really great. And then it turns out, ooh, not so much. Exit clauses, fabulous. You know, I have them work into my system as well. You'll need to talk to somebody just to let everyone watching know you want to talk to somebody who's experienced with this sort of thing to find out the exit clause that works best for you.
Mm-hmm.
30 days might be a really great strategy, but for some people that might not be, because you might have people testing the waters, right? And then, because oftentimes exit clauses are kind of two-way, but they don't have to
Mm-hmm.
be. Again, they don't have to be. So there are a lot of variables that you want to look into. We can talk about that, Ashlyn, but also the offboarding bit. That goes back to what I was saying about, leaving people with a good taste in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Just making
Mm-hmm.
sure that you respectfully bow out, you cut ties in a way that is professional and dignified, and then
Mm-hmm.
you leave them with a, hey, no worries. Here's a bunch of resources. Have a good day. And you
Yeah.
move on. So in those two circumstances, I would like to hear some of your experience in that, because I know that you've had some personal experience, some experience with your clients as you've been coaching them through these things. What are some other things that have come up that maybe I can't speak to right now, but that might help some of our viewers to understand the circumstances they might find themselves in and how to navigate
Mm-hmm.
them?
Yeah, I want to go back to the exit clauses thing. So there was a situation, was this a year into, I don't even think I was working full time at my business yet. I still think it was a side thing, or like right around the time I transitioned. But there was a client that was kind of the pain in the neck client that I think once I had gotten somebody else, I would have kind of let them go. But they sent me a note and they were like, hey, your last month is next month. I want you to train all my staff on how to do what you're doing. And I'm going to go on vacation for like a month and I want this done. And she sent it to me 3 days before the end of the month. So I was like, cool, gonna look at our contract. We had nothing in there about termination. We had to give no notice. You could basically end it at the end of the month to month. So in that last 3 days, I started typing it up well, I basically said, like, actually, we're going to end at the end of this month. I
Mm-hmm.
will invoice you on this date and we are done. And she scrambled. She was just like, oh my gosh, I need status updates of all your things and I need a meeting and all that. And I was like, nope, you tried to ding me and say you get 1 month. And that wasn't in there. So it can work both ways. It protects you and can also protect the client if you have 30 days, or the most recent one that I communicated a 30-day notice from. She was just like, oh my God, I want you for 2 more months and this and this and this. And I was like, yo, you like mentioned in a meeting that you might not be able to pay me next month. And that's like huge red, among many other things, huge red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, there's a lot of reasons why those are super important. Contracts are super important. Make sure that you don't do anything without a contract. Uh, you know, it's not an email, it's something that's signed, it's something that you keep copies of, it's something you give your client so that they have a copy of with both signatures on it. So, those things I think are super important. Another thing to think about as well is like how and when you get paid, because that is really important. Put late fees in there, make sure that you stick to your contracts, and do all of those different things. And then, be kind. Like, I think that that's a really important thing. Like, even as you are breaking up with a client, don't be an asshole. Just don't, you know, it's not worth it. It's not worth, even if you want to burn it all down and you're just like, oh my God, I'm so done. Like
Yeah.
it's not good. And everything that's written is screenshotable, it's printable. It could be, we live, if you're in the United States, it's a very litigious country. You just don't ever want to have to deal with things like that. It's just not, it's not worth your time, energy, or mental health to have to deal in those ways. And then, kind of on the same lines of being kind, yes, we do a lot of offboarding, roundup emails and things with our clients, and sometimes they come back and they're like, Ashlyn, I forgot where I put this, or blah blah blah. So I keep records. I kind of have files, folders about everything. But, do I be mean and be like, oh my God, Shauna, why did like put this somewhere that you're going to remember it? I'm like, no, here you go, forward. Here's what we sent you. Let me know if you need any help. And we've actually had people come back because they're like, hey, I have this new project. And I think the cutest thing that some of my clients do is like, will you work with me again? And I was like, oh my gosh, like we just had a project, like we didn't end on bad terms. We just had a project end, or, being that I work with small businesses and nonprofits, sometimes the money runs out.
Yeah.
And so, economically things have to end. But you know what? If you do a great job, if you be a nice, I think there's a difference between like people pleasing and niceness and just being generally kind and human. If you be kind to folks, they will come back. Or, I have one client who is constantly referring me out to other people because we've done a fantastic job. So there's still that power of word of mouth and the referral and, doing good by folks as well.
I love it. I love it so much. And here's one of the many reasons why I love all that you just said. It's all marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all marketing. And I have said this from day one, you are never not marketing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, when you're showing up on those first interactions, you're marketing yourself. When you send that that form, you're marketing yourself. When you're hosting the call, when you're navigating the contract, when the client experience and how you approach that is a form of marketing. How you offboard, how you interact after offboarding, it is all marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really important to understand that how you present yourself in those circumstances can pay dividends or not.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I want to ask you if there's anything that I haven't asked you today, because we did have a lot of like business model conversations just now, which is highly valuable, but we're both marketing experts. I think there's something to be said in that realm. If there's something I haven't asked you today that you really feel like you want to share with the world, this is going to be your time to do it. Now, before you do that, I'll let you think on it because I know that's a loaded question. Before you do that, I want to remind everybody that conversations like this are happening every single week here on Marketing Rebels. So like, subscribe, join the conversation so you don't miss the next ones. We're not going anywhere. We're going to continue the conversation, and you can reach out to us and we will help you along with whatever it is that you need. We'll answer your questions, and maybe even better yet, this is something that I just explored this morning on another call for somebody from here who reached out to me and started the conversation, not with a question necessarily, but with a topic of conversation, which we were able to tease out and explore. And it was kind of like being a philosophical navigator of truth. And it was just a beautiful conversation. So please make sure that you're joining in the conversation and subscribing so you don't miss the next one. All right. I'm going to get off my soapbox and I'm going to give you a great opportunity to share your value with the world.
I think one of the things to remind business owners is everything builds over time. So the important thing is to start with a solid foundation. And one of the things that I am giving away today is the Business Foundations Guide. It's basically an amalgamation of everything that I learned from that first year and a half in business, systems, processes, tools that I put into place. And then I think the other thing to remember too is that you are part of your brand and your brand will evolve. I'm giving this advice today. I am by no means perfect. I have messed up on these things. However, I do feel like it's important to have conversations like this, to listen to what other entrepreneurs and business owners are experiencing out in the field. And I hope that you got some nuggets of wisdom from this. And I'm always happy to have this type of conversation as well with you.
Oh man, that's the thing. Like a lot of people are actually, they'll think about these experiences where it's like, oh, you're stumbling, you're falling, oh no, this is horrible. But really, this is the best chance for you to learn, for you to grow. And if you're brave enough today to reach out to someone who has learned from that experience, then you could avoid that experience. You leverage their turmoil and make leaps and bounds, creating a sturdier foundation on which to grow your business. So yes, take a look at this Business Foundations guide, download it today, see what's up, see if there are any gaps in what you're doing, or maybe there are clogs in what you're doing. And that way you can utilize that information to grow, to scale, and to continue to evolve the way we are meant to evolve. With that, don't forget that if there is some sort of issue where you're going, hey, you know what? I'm not feeling totally aligned with how I'm showing up in the world today. There's a hiccup. There's a, you know what? I've even seen a chasm where people have been like, I'm showing up like this, and this is not me. How do I fix this? Reach out, say hello. You can go to, Ashlyn, she has the form. I do too. Like minds think alike. Like minds, great. Well, like minds
Great minds
technically
thinking
think
alike.
alike, but also great minds think alike. Oh my goodness gracious. And you'll have a chuckle nonetheless. I also have a form. Go to shaunaleigh.com, ShaunaLeigh.com, and you'll find a form there so that you can hop on my calendar too, because a lot of times when those hiccups or chasms exist, a simple conversation can take you leaps and bounds into the progress world, right? And that's what we want, is we want progress. There's no such thing as perfection. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll chat soon.